The Vampire Diaries Season 8, Episode 3, You Decided That I Was Worth Saving. Honestly, I think this is my favorite episode so far. I think it was a really good one as far as, once again, Bonnie's just constantly thrown into the struggle of just everything. She doesn't have her magic, somebody's dead, she finds out she's a witch, but she's thrown into another dimension. This is crazy, that's crazy. And now it comes down to she has to decide who she wants more and who she cares about more. Is either going to be Damon, who, despite being a horrible person all the time, for like basically half the series, just the worst, over a little bit more than half, the worst person ever, and then just having that moment where they just bonded because they were trapped in this dimension, and finally being able to break away from all the madness that he'd done, being able to bond and actually become like best friends. Or does she choose the man that she loves? And, you know, much simpler explanation for their relationship, but, it's love and, liking a dude who's a bit of an a-hole. So, I like the way they did it. Cybil was probably just a pretty epic villain, to be totally honest, in this episode. I think she was a phenomenal villain, where it's just like, hey, I'm in the house, just want to talk, have a little conversation. Basically, I can't be killed, because they already showed that in the last one, where even if they snap her neck, she can survive, which never heard that from sirens before, but it wouldn't be the Vampire Diaries if they couldn't snap the person's neck and they get up anyway. So the conversation that they have where she's like, you basically have to choose, I love that. I thought it was really good, because it's like, everything that happens, is because of you. Like, you're the reason that both these guys are, still, at least, because at first for Damon, of course, it was Elena, but, she got rid of that, and then, so Bonnie was there to kind of, that was the second place that he had to go to, was with Bonnie. And so, she's like, alright, well, of course Enzo is in love with this woman, and then with Damon, it's like, oh, they were actually really great friends. So Bonnie's like at the center of this, where she has to now decide between these two guys, and I love the way they did it. They tried to make it work, and it was like, it's like, she's not going to choose, but then it's like, well, if you don't choose, one of them's going to live, one of them's going to die. And then we have Stefan involved, where he doesn't really want to kill Enzo, but everybody knows he's going to choose his brother no matter what. And I love the way they ended the episode, too, because Bonnie really called him out. And it's like, if it was your choice, you would have killed Enzo. And he's like, yep. And he was like, despite knowing that, he did everything he could to fight and give us clues to get to them. He's like, yep. And you would have done all that, still knowing that Damon gave up in the beginning. He's like, absolutely. And she's like, what has he ever done outside of give up? And I was like, man, that was just, I thought she had a great moment right there. She was just so mad at Stefan for just it's his brother, but for blindly following after him, no matter what he did or didn't do, to help them out, it's always going to be his brother. And he was definitely about to kill Enzo too. Like, I was really surprised. I thought he was going to at least fight back and forth a little bit longer, but basically it was like, alright, now you basically push my brother against, a little railing or whatever, now I got to chop your head off. And I was like, wow, he went to that really fast. I thought it would at least been like halfway through the battle he would have jumped in, but it was like they threw a couple of punches, and that was pretty much it. And then he was like, alright, gotta kill you now. I was like, wow, he jumped to that so much faster than I expected. I thought he would have put up a bit more of a fight to, try to keep them apart. And it was just insane. I was like, wow, he jumped to that so much faster. I was a little disappointed, if I'm being totally honest. I didn't think he'd jump to it, so quickly. It was just like, man, Caroline had to come in and stop him. And then, of course, once again, the neck snapping, and it leaves us with Damon and Enzo again. So they're going back and forth. And it's interesting that Damon's whole thing is that he is petrified to seriously go to hell. And I find that so interesting of a concept, that it's not even, oh, I want to be evil or anything like that. He's actually terrified. Like, he is so scared to go back to hell, because he kind of experienced that. Like, Cybil actually put that into his head. And he's just like, man, I can't go to hell. It's not, he kind of introduced this idea, and this is something kind of carrying over from the originals, where they talked about it a little bit, like, what if we don't live forever? Like, we have the choice now to be human, or to be mortal in a sense, where we can actually kill ourselves. And I was like, this is interesting that they kind of brought that over a little. And for Damon, it's really there where he's like, I'm scared to die now. Like, I really don't want to die because I will go to hell. For him, it's just like, hey, I'd rather live forever because I do not want to go to hell. And I just think that's an interesting concept. And they kind of still have that a little bit, from Alaric's side of things with his intern, where she's kind of introduced it a little as well. So I don't know if they're going to do it or not, but and I mentioned that before, but maybe a full-on representation of hell might show up, in this final season. It'll be interesting to see. But I love what they did with the villain in this episode. I think Cybil was great for this one. Apparently she should have wore her seatbelt because she flew out the window, even though that really defied physics. They could not have been going that fast where Bonnie slamming on the brakes would have sent anyone flying through the front window. I was like, that just would not have happened. There's not enough force in the world. There is. Obviously I'm exaggerating, but there's no way they were driving that fast to where her slamming on the brakes sent her literally flying out. Like, her legs would have to lift up into the air and go into a straight line for her to fly straight out the car like that. And I was like, that just would not have ever happened. But of course it doesn't matter because she basically finds a car right after that and still manages to get there like right behind them. And I was like, wow, that really sucked. So they go through all this stuff and they have a great moment, like when Bonnie actually made the decision. She's like, I choose Enzo. And Damon had to stop. And so we have Caroline and Stefan, they're both knocked out now. And they go through, and Damon, like I said, that's why I love like what they're doing with Damon in this, where he's so scared to die because he's seen hell, and he's like, please don't do this to me. He's like, I just don't want to die. And I just love what they did with it. And then Cybil, of course, being the ultimate villain, she's like, well, how about this? Damon is a huge asset. He gave up control pretty much instantly. He's really good. Enzo, I just want to control because I need two people, and they're both just fairly powerful. So if you give up your emotions, I'll let Bonnie go, I'll let Damon live, and we just move along. Naturally, she totally lied about that, and she was going to have Bonnie get killed anyway. And then Alaric is able to come in and save the day, and I totally called it. I was like, it looks like a tuning fork, and I definitely called it, and it is a tuning fork to not only stop the siren song, which is what I thought it was going to be, it actually disrupts her in general. Like, it just like destroyed Cybil. It was like her siren song, but in a painful way. So it messed her up, and she was able to get knocked out, which unfortunately didn't lead to Stefan and Damon being free. That's what I thought was going to happen. Is that, like I said, I thought it was going to like disrupt her signal so no one could be controlled. But she gets knocked out. They take her. I don't know what the heck the plan is with Bonnie, because that seems like a terrible idea to me, that she would take Enzo, and it's like, I'll take him to the cabin. Basically, because they kind of reference it from Stefan. He's like, if you need help, get him into the cabin. And I'm like, why is she taking him to the cabin? That seems so dangerous to me, based on what we know, where they can't even go too far, which I guess they're staying, clearly they're staying close enough because Damon wasn't, too far away. But I was like, that seems so incredibly dangerous to me. They don't know how deadly this mind control might be. And granted, his switch is off, and she, technically the last thing she said was like, don't kill Bonnie. So, or at least not to Enzo, it was for Stefan, or for Damon, he was supposed to do it. So Enzo, I guess, is in an odd neutral state. And then once she's able to get his humanity back on, then he'll be able to fight back again. But for now, it's off, and I'm like, that's so dangerous for her to just be alone with him. And then we get this crazy ending scene. I never would have expected this scene. But, we have Cybil, and she can still sing and still affect Damon outside of the castle, or whatever they call it, the armory. And so they do the thing where he lies in the road, and, car stops, and this person gets out. And it ends up being Tyler Lockwood, and I was like, oh crap. Like, as soon as it was him, I was just like, dang. Like, they're about to kill Tyler. Like, he hasn't really done anything in the past, I think, 2 seasons. Yeah, like, because the last season he had no real big role. The season before that he did, because he was with one of the twins. He was with the girl. So that was like his last really big thing. and like she saved him from becoming a werewolf again when he almost killed that person. So that was like his last big thing, and he had like I think he only showed up like twice in the last season, and then he shows up one time this season, and it's like, wow, that sucks. And you know, Damon ends up killing him at the end, and it was just crazy. I was like, wow, he hasn't really been in it, but still, it's like that's Tyler Lockwood, and dude, he was the werewolf guy. He like literally introduced us to Haley, who was one of the main characters, in the originals now. So it was just crazy to see that ending, and there was kind of no build up to it. It just kind of happened. It was like, oh, it's Tyler, and he's about to die, and he does at the end of this episode. So it was just a crazy way to end this, and that's another reason why I really enjoyed the episode. It was just a surprising end. But it was a great episode. Like, I really loved this one. I thought Cybil, like I said, was phenomenal as the villain in this, with just that the hero has to make the deadly choice, and then even though everything worked out, they still had that final little moment where it's like they ultimately won. They say they won the day, and Cybil got knocked out, and they captured her. Now they know the tuning fork affects her. Stefan is still having to deal with the fact that he doesn't have his brother, because Damon just kind of... I love that too. Like, when she got knocked out, he was just like, alright, I'm out of here. And that was kind of it. It was almost like that was a contingency plan, which it was, because there's some sort of secret plan going on, which is like, applesauce penguin is all he can say, or penguin applesauce. So something extra is going on, and when she was knocked out, I was like, oh, well, I'm out. I gotta go do that plan now, because even with her being knocked unconscious, it was like, that was like the contingency. It's like, if I get busted, you need to go do this. And now that's what he's going to do. And I don't know if it was meant to be, it's hard to say if the whole plan was to have him do something so insane, like kill off one of the former main characters, I guess, and someone that everyone still cares about. But still, he's off to do something, and that just happened to be a little stopgap, and Tyler Lockwood is gone, which I still think technically he shouldn't have been able to drink his blood. I mean, I guess he was, because he wasn't a vampire. It was just that he still would smell funny to him or something like that. I don't think it was... I think he could still drink his blood because he hadn't killed him. He hadn't transformed, so his blood was still fine to drink, at least, or taste-wise. But it was a crazy ending. I love this episode, though. Sad to see him go. It's like Tyler, like I said, he didn't even really have any role in the series lately. But he showed up just to die, and it's like, wow, that kind of sucks. But good ending, great villain moment for Cybil. She's captured now. We have the tuning fork. Also, Alaric's intern, she saw everything that happened, which they didn't really get into at the end of this episode, because they only had like 5 minutes left in it, or like 10 after all that happened. But she saw some necks get snapped. She saw some craziness go on. So she's kind of fully in it now, which I'm not surprised. But I figured that would happen, like, considering her connection. She kind of needs to be fully involved. Like, this is truly happening. So like what they did with this one, of course. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. This next episode seems to introduce the fact that Cybil has a sister. So we have another siren out there. I want to know if you guys think that is what Damon's plan was supposed to be. The whole contingency was to unleash a second siren, or is the second siren totally separate from Cybil's actual plan? So I want to know your theories on that, what you thought about the episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.